Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Listen, for some reason after COVID, the world just seemed to it's almost it retarded itself. Now the meaning of that word, you can look it up. I'm not using it in an offensive, derogatory way, but you have people who still believe that getting a degree for some sort of a training makes sense. Now, if you're in the medical field or maybe a doctor, a lawyer, yes, that type of certification makes sense. You're paying for that piece of paper to say I learned what I need to do and I'm certified in that. Everything else doesn't matter. Now, there are people who are going to school for an associate's degree in just regular stuff or a bachelor's degree in just regular stuff, computer networking, computer science. Here's the realization to that. You can go and learn that on YouTube. You can go learn that from a book. You can actually learn that yourself because there's information that's free. And a lot of these colleges and schools are using the curriculum based on stuff that they see on the internet and they reference it on social media. And that's if you've ever been to a class and the professor plays something on the television or the projector. It's straight from the internet. So you have to say, what am I paying for? I'm paying to get a piece of paper to show people that I could show up to class every single day and I have a good tardiness. That's basically what it is. I have a good, I'm dependable. That's what you're paying for that piece of paper for. Because there are a lot of jobs that people are not qualified for on paper, quote unquote, but they get it. And it's because they know a lot. Now, back to the first comment, I was stating that a lot of people, they almost retard themselves because you have young kids and children and teenagers wanting to become influencers. And in the category of influencers, they're basically making videos and content to help other businesses make more money and essentially doing it for free as content creators or brand ambassadors. That's what you're doing. I mean, it's modern day slavery with a twist. And I say twist because it just become digitized. And that's all it is. I mean, if back in the day when there were slaves, you didn't, what did you entice them with to become slaves or to go and work in the fields? Nothing. There was no benefit to that. It was forced. So now, social media and society again is forcing you to think this is the way and this makes sense and this is how I get rich, and if I work and do more content, more videos and more dancing on social media and TikTok and edit it and put it a certain type of way, you know, I'm good. I could become famous. I could become better. I'm you know, that's what it is. It's a modern day form of slavery. It's just fluffed up and it looks nice. And a lot of people don't even understand that part. But, you know, you dig deeper and you say, does this make sense? Why am I going to this restaurant paying 3 times the amount of money for this plate that I can make at my house to take a photo, to put on social media, to build up my followers and tag that restaurant so they can make more money and therefore they could get more of an audience and more of a customer base? And it's just stupid. I'm sorry, but it is, it's you know, it's silly. So the more you understand what happened after COVID, the more you understand where society unfortunately is going. People lack confidence. Men lack confidence. They need to drink alcohol in order to get confidence to go talk to somebody or talk to women or go to a bar, and that's the only way they get that confidence. People need to smoke a lot of weed to go to work to function properly because they have anxiety. And the anxiety comes from what? I don't know. We don't know. Can you tell us what your anxiety comes from? You know, women put a lot of filters on to look a certain way because, you know, deep down inside, they can't fix certain things without surgery. And if they have the money to fix it, then they fix it. If they don't have the money, then they try their best. And it forms a level of insecurity. Again, this is all from certain things in social media, filters and other influencers and things of that nature. Look at the Kardashians. For instance, they looked a certain way years ago. They changed that way. Now everyone wants to look that way, and they're influencing society to be a certain way, and we're all just following the trend. That's all it is, following the trend. You don't know why. Internally, you don't know why. Physically, you definitely don't know why, but you're just following the trend. Somebody posts something, people just repost it and change it a little bit and repost it again and change it a little bit. And now you have 4 or 5 people doing the same thing over and over again with a different twist, a different color, a different flavor, and you're calling it innovative, you're calling it creative, you're calling it content, and it's repetitive. You don't even know what you like anymore, because what you like is what someone else says is the trend. Today is the trend. This is what you like. Okay, next. Baggy pants, worn looking sneakers, which is the Golden Goose sneakers. What else? Bald men with beards. Oh, that's the trend. Okay, cool. It's just so much of just a repetitive thing, and it's almost like we don't even know what to do anymore. We're not creators. Creators are people who bake cookies and cakes. Creators are people who are electricians. Creators are people who are mechanics. Creators are people who can use their hands and figure something out. If this bolt is too loose or it's too tight, I'm going to use some fire, I'm going to use some ice, I'm going to use some WD-40, I'm going to use leverage, I'm going to find a way to make it work. Not, let me edit this video and, post it up and change the music and use this filter. To me, that's not innovative, that's not creative. And we've lost that in the last decade. And as the future progresses, how far into the future do we go to stop? When do we stop? When do we hit a wall and we say, wait a minute, this makes no sense? You have people all of a sudden going back to the retro times or the retro era. And the retro era is, I want an old car. I don't want this new digital Tesla or this, I want a Resto Mod. I want a Singer. I want a Gunther Works. I want this. I was watching a podcast the other day, and the gentleman said, the people who want an old Porsche like a Gunther or a Singer, who want the modern day technology in it, have about 10 to 15 years left to live, because that car was made during their era specifically. So who else is buying this? It's young people who are following a trend, and they're paying $1 million to follow this trend, or 6 figures to follow this trend. And unfortunately, what happens is it's gonna sink. It's gonna hit a wall, and then it's not gonna make sense. People don't want new cars anymore because they've been fooled into the analog part and the digital part and the trend part. That's why a lot of new electric Ferraris and Lamborghinis are worth less, and they're selling cheap because the trend is, oh, this is a hybrid. This doesn't make sense. This is not cool. No, it doesn't. That's backwards thinking, because again, people are following this trend. So let me pay $1 million for a piece of shit Resto Mod. I'm not gonna say it's a piece of shit. They look nice, but let me pay $1 million, which is crazy to me, because I want to have that nostalgic with the new technology, because it's the trend. Meanwhile, you could pay $400,000 and you can get a GT3 RS, or you can get a $200,000 992 Turbo S, and that thing makes jam, and that thing drops panties, man. But it's one of those things where you've fallen into this hype, and it's making you poor because you're overspending and you're leveraging, and it doesn't make sense because you're keeping up with a trend. We as consumers don't even know what we like anymore. Literally, we don't know what we like anymore. We're just following a trend, and we're basically seeing something and saying, oh, let's go do that. We're not creative, we're not innovative, and it's a problem, because the younger people that are arguing with the older people are using a lot of computer arguments or digital arguments, not not actual physical in the field, boots on the ground arguments, if that makes sense. You know, they're just following the trend of their argument. You argue with somebody today, they're just repeating something they heard on the internet, and then they're using the word on the internet. Oh, a narcissist. Oh, a bully. Oh, you're controlling. Oh, this, that, this. And it's not cool, but, you know, eventually it's going to come to a point where hopefully our generation, my age category, you know, 30 to 40, we get to be able to teach them again, you know, show them again. Hopefully it comes sooner than later, if that makes sense. But yeah, so think about that, understand that, and believe that what you're doing every single day is not a copy of someone else's doing. It is something that you're doing that makes sense, that's new. You know, kids used to color and create characters and fantasy, you know, anime and play with Batman in the sand, and like Toy Story, like the first Toy Story, for example. You know, that was before. Now, between the ages of 20 and 30, even 30 and 40, you go to sleep and you don't dream about things anymore. You don't dream about flying like a superhero. You don't dream about running fast like Sonic or the Flash. You don't have these dreams that take you back to Wonderland or make you feel like Peter Pan. We don't dream. We go to sleep, we wake up, and then that's it. We dream about horror or terror or what if, or my bills aren't paid, or you know, stress and this and that, and my spouse and all this nonsense, and this is where our minds are programmed now, and it doesn't make sense. And it's because of the world that we're living in. Like, when was the last time you had a dream and you woke up and you were happy about that dream? And it's because what you're putting in your brain is not falling into that in-between life that you live when you go to sleep. Some of you might believe it, some of you might not, but there is a space, a golden space between when you sleep and when you wake up, and your brain wanders. And if it doesn't wander and have fun in a delightful way, you're losing. You're not enjoying your life spiritually, mentally, physically. So you have to sit back and analyze really what it is that's going on in your life, and base it on what you do in society and what you input into your brain. Maybe read an old book, maybe watch an old movie. Old movies is my go-to. I watch these old movies and I remember Blockbuster. I remember my mom used to get Raisinets and M&Ms and popcorn and Domino's pizza, and you know, we used to sit there and watch these movies, and it was nostalgic. So when I watch them at this age, guess what happens? It brings me back to a point in my brain that I remember life is what it is, and this is how it's supposed to be. All the other stuff doesn't matter. I'm not following a trend. I'm enjoying myself. So, I mean, just figure it out, understand it, and you'll grow as a better person, and you'll be able to teach as a better person, and you'll be able to pass on that energy as a better person. And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to pass on that energy as a better human being. And if you don't pass it on, it's because you are copying too many trends, right? But yeah, with that being said, listen, enjoy your day. Today's Wednesday. Try your best to go back to that retro time, and involve your children if you have any in that retro time. Involve yourself if you have any in that retro time. Go play basketball, go play soccer, go ride a bicycle like you used to. Just get on a bicycle and ride around the block. Bicycle's cheap. Go to Walmart, get something, and just enjoy that nostalgic aspect of what you used to do. Make time. I mean, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it's not hard, and it's not gonna hurt you, right? It's not gonna say, I spent too much time on this, I'm missing out on something else. Check your phone algorithm. Half of the time you spend on your phone, you could be doing other things. That 10 minutes, 15 minutes. When I make these videos, I'm usually doing two things at once, right? So it just has to make sense. But live a little, understand that where we are, where we're going, and where we've been. Mix it all together, but don't dissolve the old ways, because once you do that, the digital way will ultimately make you look at people younger than you and say, this person's an idiot. This doesn't make sense, right? So think about that. Enjoy your day. I'm not going to take up too much time, but I'm going to put this on YouTube because it is 15 minutes long currently, and I'm going to put a snippet on my other socials. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, I kind of post stuff every day, or you can share this link and people can follow, whatever. It's just what it is. But have a good day.